Hi, we are glad you joined us today as we talk about something very important, the fascinating human will. The human will is an incredible, powerful, God-given aspect of man.
You know, we often hear or use the term willpower, but there's a little bit of difference between willpower and the power of the will. Webster's defines willpower as energetic determination. Willpower involves using discipline and self-effort to exert control over self. But the will is defined as the faculty by which a person decides or chooses and initiates action. We could call it the chooser. The will is the mechanism we use to make decisions and then consent or refuse to act.
So how do we explain the difference between willpower and the will?
Well, the will is what we use to make a decision, and willpower is what we use to follow through on the decision. So if I decide to save money, I make that decision with my will, but I need my willpower to follow through on the decision.
The budget. So in this video, we are going to focus on the willpower or self-discipline we muster up in order to accomplish goals and achieve what we desire. We might wake up tomorrow and use this mechanism that we used to choose, that we call it will, to decide we want to make a change, maybe eat better, exercise, improve a skill. Often when we make this decision, we start off with great willpower or energetic determination to do whatever it takes to see our desire fulfilled.
Yeah, but it seems like most of the time I get excited. I'm all excited about change, but within a few days or a few weeks, my determination begins to wane, and the willpower to follow through and do what it takes diminishes. I might decide to run through the drive-thru on the way home and choose fast food over a nutritious, healthy meal, or I might buy something rather than sticking to my budget, or go home and plop down in front of the TV instead of putting on my exercise clothes and following through on my plan to exercise. How is it that we begin so motivated with lots of determination or willpower just to do whatever it takes and then struggle to follow through?
It is because willpower is like a rechargeable battery pack that can lose its charge and drains and depletes from the thousands of choices we make every day with our will.
Yeah. There's a study was done by Roy Baumeister in 1996 called the Radish Experiment. You can do a search online and read more details about the experiment, but we're going to summarize the study. What they did was they asked people to come to the lab hungry. And when they arrived, they walked into the smell of freshly baked chocolate chip cookies. So then they were asked to sit down at a table with two bowls, one bowl filled with red and white radishes and the other bowl with chocolate chip cookies and chocolate candies. So some of the people were told to eat 2 or 3 radishes only, and another group was told to eat 2 or 3 cookies only, and then there was a third group that came hungry that was told not to eat anything at all. So after about 5 minutes, they were taken into another room and given a geometry puzzle that, unbeknownst to them, was actually impossible to solve. The objective was to see how long they would persist in trying to solve the unsolvable puzzle. The people who had to resist the temptation to eat cookies before doing the test weren't able to continue working on this impossible puzzle more than 8 minutes before they got frustrated and gave up. But the people who did not have to use willpower to resist the cookies before doing the puzzle lasted an average of 18 to 20 minutes before giving up. That's 2.5 times longer than those who had to use willpower to resist temptation.
So the first group wastes more battery charge
trying to resist the
temptation. So after the Radish Experiment, researchers did a whole bunch of studies that showed that anything that we do that taps our self-controls tend to drain our willpower and cause us to give up and compromise more easily. One of the things that drain our willpowers is making decisions. So for example, before you get out of bed in the morning, you can use the will to decide, will I get up now or in 5 minutes?
Snooze.
What will I wear? What is for breakfast? When you check your phone messages or emails, you have to think, who's this, right? And what are they saying? Do I care? What do I do? Ignore or reply? What do I say? You can use your will to make like a decision just to answer an email or a phone call.
Yeah, and it also requires a lot of willpower to monitor and properly handle emotions. As we go throughout our day, it's necessary to monitor and process emotions and decide how we're going to respond to people and circumstances. So we constantly have to manage our emotions at work, at school, in our marriage, at church, with our kids, even on social media.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of energy.
A lot of energy, yeah. The energy it takes to properly plan, prepare, and execute or perform well at school, work, ministry, and life also taps our willpower. All these things drain our willpower battery and leave us in a state that can cause us to become negligent and make choices that harm relationships or do not move us toward our goals and plans.
When our willpower has been depleted by so many decisions throughout the day, we begin to rationalize and tell ourselves it's okay to eat junk or spend too much money or skip our exercise, to ignore our plans for success. When our willpower is depleted, we can have a tendency to spin a story with all kinds of excuses that will rationalize and make us believe that it's okay to deviate from our plan.
So how do we know when our willpower is running low or we have a decision fatigue?
That's a great question. We get a red light in our car when the gas is running low and a reminder 20% battery on our phone when it's going out, but it's more difficult to recognize if our will's becoming depleted. If we're extremely aware, we might notice that the volume of life gets turned up a little bit and the radio or the TV seems extra loud, or people are really annoying us or irritating us more than normal. All these might be indicators that you're in a state of willpower depletion.
Given how many things we face all day, we are going to, at some point, find our willpower depleted and make bad choices or a choice that we couldn't have made if our willpower wasn't depleted. Willpower depletion is not an excuse for wrong decision, but problems arise when we rely on willpower alone and not steward our time and energy well. Susan, are there some things we can do to help, to reserve our willpower?
Yes, there is. It is necessary to use willpower every day, and there are some things we can do to conserve this important asset and help us make good choices with less effort. One way we can use less willpower is to devise systems. Systems lay out action steps toward a goal and assume that we have everything we need to make at each step that we need to take. So when it's time to take that step, we already have what we need. Systems develop our capacity to be more efficient and better stewards. Devising a system makes it less necessary to rely on willpower to make important choices. A system might help us maintain a higher standard and ensure better results. We can develop complicated systems or very simple systems, like always leave your keys in the same place when you get home so you don't have to use willpower to try to remember where you left them.
You're not talking about me.
No.
We can also develop habits and ritual as another way we can reserve willpower. Habits or rituals are performed consistently without forethought and effort. We can develop habits through discipline over time, and they eventually become automatic so that less willpower exerted. Did you brush your teeth or hair this morning? Do you need a reminder to brush your teeth? Most likely you were trained growing up to brush your teeth before bed, and now it is an automatic habit which requires no willpower. That's awesome.
Yeah. Planning and preparing in advance is a great way to reduce the number of choices you need to make in a moment, sometimes down to nothing. For example, if we plan a menu and a grocery list and we have on hand everything we need for dinner, then when we go home, we don't have to make a decision about whether we're going to order pizza or eat that bag of cookies or vegetables. We already have a plan, and the only decision that we have now is to follow through on our plan.
The plan.
Or if we schedule time to exercise and we say, I'm going to do this at this time, in this place, and for this long, there's no need to muster up the willpower to make all those decisions at the end of the day when we're tired or early in the morning or getting up trying to get to the gym. We only decide to execute the plan. So when you plan and prepare in advance, good choices become easier and your goals are accomplished without as much exertion of willpower.
Without messing up the battery. Just remember this. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. These are all ways we can conserve willpower. So in the PDF or written class, we share ways you can actually recharge your willpower when it is depleted. In this portion today, we have learned good tips for helping our will to function at a great capacity. But let me tell you something, it's not the best, most effective use of our will. Be sure and join us in the next two portions. We are going to talk about the incredible human will. Yeah.